Hi guys, welcome. Sorry for being a little bit late. I was stuck with the last group. We will wait for the rest of the participants to join in and we will begin in a couple of minutes, okay? Okay, so in today's exercise, we are going to finish this mobile interface and it will serve you as a hint or as a guide of how to add interaction to your final interface or to your final project interface, okay? I will download this zip file and I will put it inside a special folder inside MAMP because I want to be able to test this on my mobile device. So if you download MAMP, if you are using, you are not required to do this in this class if you are doing this exercise right now, but for future work, you can use MAMP in order to be able to access your web pages from other devices within the same network. And the way you do this is just by starting the server. When you start MAMP in Mac, you have a special folder inside Applications, MAMP, which is called htdocs. In Windows, the default folder is inside the C main directory, and inside there you will have a folder named WAMP. So C, WAMP, and then inside that one folder you have a folder named www, I think it's called, and that's the same as this htdocs folder. What that means is that if your server is running and you open on Mac the web page, or you access the server via localhost, and then in Mac you need to type column 8888. In Windows you just write localhost. Then you will be displaying the content of that htdocs folder you have here. I created a folder named mobile, and inside that folder I saved that mobile interface assets. So I will just unzip it there, and in fact I don't want another folder inside it, so I will just move these files to here, and now I will just erase this. So in my case, I have a folder called mobile, and as you can see here, there is that folder mobile, and inside that folder I have some pages. So if I click here and I refresh this, I will be seeing the directory. If I name this web page instead of index-pre, if I name it index.html and I refresh this, it will try to find, the server will try to find a page named index, and if it finds it, which it will do, it will open that web page by default. That's why your main landing page should be called index.html, okay? We have a question here. Can you upload last code class? Yeah, if I didn't do it, I will upload it today, okay? So let's begin with this exercise. And I will be doing stuff a little bit quicker than other classes so I can complete the whole assignment today. Remember, I am recording this class, so don't worry if you think I'm going too quick, you can review this later on, okay? Let me give you an idea of what this should do. So as you can see, we have a design and we have many sections, and on each section we have some questions or some buttons that the user should click on. And what we want to do is we want to get some answers to these questions. So first of all, we want to know the gender of the user. Later on, we are asking him or her to select either dog or cat, and then yellow or green. And based on the selections that the user made, we want to display some icon here on these sprites. You will find that sprite inside the image folder. Is this kind of funny sprite. And for example, if the user selected man and, I don't know, dog and color yellow, we will be displaying this item. But if the user selected man and dog and color green instead, maybe we display this frog, and I don't know. It's just an example to help you write some code for interacting with the user, being able to save the user's answers to some things and do some actions accordingly, okay? So let's start with this. What I will do is open this HTML file in brackets. So this is my brackets folder. I'm already pointed to the mobile folder inside MAMP in my case, but you can just work locally without any server at all if you want to try this exercise, and it will work anyway, okay? So let me open the HTML. If you have a look at it, we have some fonts, some Google fonts, some CSS reset, our styles. We already added the jQuery library, so that's okay. We can already start writing jQuery code here. And then we have some HTML, we have some sections. Each section has its own ID. So we have ID is like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and nothing else, right? Wait, there's a helicopter going by. Yeah, okay. And what we want to do here is just add the functionality for this to work. So if the user clicks on, let me show this on a cell phone because it will look better here. So the user should be able to select either man or woman and then click next, and we should be display, this second slide where he or she should be able to select either dog or cat and then yellow or green, and then we should update the results accordingly. So let's do all that. Okay, let's start with the beginning. First of all, we want the user to be able to either select man or woman, and then he should be selecting or clicking on the next div to advance to the next section. How do we achieve this? First of all, we want to listen to the click on either of these divs. We can do that by listening to the click on any div with class item. That way we will be listening on the click of both, either this div or this div, because both of them share the same class name, okay? Let's do that in jQuery. So before closing my body, I will open a script tag. Let me check if I am recording this. Yes, okay. So I have a script tag. And let's first, let me show you something. When the user, we should be giving a hint to the user or a visual clue to the user, telling him that we recognize its click and that the selection was made either on man or woman, something like this. Let me show it to you. I have it here in activities and mobile interface. This is more or less the completed exercise. So as you can see here, if he clicks on man, we get some pink shadow highlighting this button, and if he clicks woman or she clicks woman, then we get the highlighting here. Now we can click on the next, and we are presented with the next thing. Here we don't have any next button, so the selection acts both as a selection and as a next button. So if we click dog, we will move to the next screen, and here we click green, and then we get to the final screen. So this is more or less the result we want to achieve, okay? So first of all, we need to listen to the click on either of those divs. How can we achieve that with jQuery? Well, these two divs both have a class of item. So we could listen to the click on a div with class item and do something with it. So I will open this script tag, and right here I will try to listen to that click. So remember, jQuery, we use the $sign to select something or to look for something in the DOM, in the document object model, or in the web page in this case. What we wanted to look for is to something with the class item. Then we want to add some event to it, and we want to add the click event. So this means when the user clicks on any item with class name item, we will execute this code inside curly braces. The next thing we should do is to check if this is working. And the easiest way of check this is just write something on the console, okay? So I will just write click to the console. So either when the user clicks on this div or on this div, we should be seeing on the console the text click. Let's try that out. I will save this, I will refresh this web page. I will open the console, and I will click on this. And as you can see, we get the click. Let me try to zoom a little bit on it. We get the click text, and if I click on woman, we are also getting the same text, the same click text. So we can rest assured that this code is being executed and this event is being fired, and we are getting inside these curly braces. Okay, I don't want to print something on the console. Rather, I want to check the selection of the user, either if it was a man or a woman. If it was a man, I want to put some highlights, some box shadow to this div, and if it click on this div, I want to put the shadow on this one. I already designed that shadow. If you open the CSS file, you will find a class named selected. What this class does is it just add a box shadow to the element. In this case, a deep pink box shadow. So for example, if I will add to this div the class selected, and I save this, and then I refresh my web page, you can see that that class is being applied to that div. And if I check it here, it's being applied. You could also add it to any item you want. For example, here, selected. And the only thing it does, it adds this box shadow to the element. Of course, I can add it to, for example, this next element, selected, and it will also get this shadow, right? We don't want this to have any selection at the beginning, so we want both of them without the class selected, so the user sees something like this. But once the user either clicks on this one or this one, we do want to apply that selection, that selected class to this item in order to tell the user that this item was indeed selected, okay? How do we achieve this? Well, right now we are listening to the click on either of those divs, but we should apply the selection or the selected class only to the clicked element. There's a special reserved keyword called this. This can mean many things. For now, just think that this points to the element which trigger this event. So let's try to print it out in the console so you get an idea of what this is. So we are just going to print in the console the value of the element this, okay? I will refresh the web page, open the console, and if I click on this div, you can see that this is pointing to the whole div that triggered the action. And if I click on the other div, woman, what this is now pointing to, or the value of this in this case, is the second div, the one with the woman text inside it, okay? So I can make many things. What I want to do is add the selected class to the clicked div element. How do we do this? We can do something like this. Look for this. This means select the div which triggered the event or triggered the clicked event. And then we want to add the selected class to it. And we can do this with jQuery in several ways. For example, we could specify some CSS rule, but we already know the class of the rule that we want to apply. So we can just add class. This will append or add a class, the class we specify here to the element, and the class name is selected, okay? So what this snippet of code does, it's that it's listening to the click on all the elements with class item. In this case, we have two elements with class item. So it's listening to the click on either of those divs. And then it's looking for the element that was clicked, and it's adding the class selected to that item. I will save this and refresh my web page. And as you can see, if I click here on man, it gets that class. It didn't have it before, but now it's appending or adding the class name selected to that item. And if I click on the woman, then it also gets that selected, okay? This is not the behavior we want, of course, because if the user selects man and then selects woman, what we would like to see is that the highlighting is just in the woman div, not in the man div anymore. How can we achieve this? pretty easily. Yeah. So, does somebody have a question?
Sí.
Yep.
In
English.
Selected is just specified in the CSS code, not in the HTML code.
Exactly.
Okay.
The thing is that if you want to add a class selected, then that class should already exist somewhere. And this class already exists inside the styles.css. It's this one. Okay. So the only thing we want to do is to apply that selected class to the click element. Oh, it's super difficult because I hear my echo on your speaker. So try to get headphones for the next time, please. Yeah, no, it's okay. No worry. Yeah, the thing is that we are getting the audio back from the speaker. So if you mute your microphone, then it will be okay. So this class is specified inside the styles. And the only thing that I'm doing is when you click on any of those items, I am adding that class to the item. It will be the same as writing in here, selected, okay? But I am doing that dynamically to the clicked element. The problem is that, as you can see, if I click this one, this gets the class selected. But if I click on the other div, it also gets the class selected. That's the normal behavior of my programming so far. But I want to change this in order to achieve a different outcome. So what I want to do is, if I clicked on man and then on woman, what I want to see is just the woman div selected, okay, or with this box shadow. How can we achieve this? Well, pretty easily. We are going to do this trick. It doesn't matter of which item you click. First of all, remove the class selected from any item, and then you will add the class selected to the selected item. Okay, how do we do this? Well, look for anything with the class name item, and then if we have an add class, then of course we do have a remove class. So you can put remove class, and the class we want to remove is the class, well, it doesn't really matter, selected. Okay? So what this is doing is, first of all, when you click on any item, it will look for all the elements with class item, and it will try to remove the class selected from all of them. If they didn't have the class selected to begin with, then it's okay. It's no problem at all. This won't fire any error. It will just don't do anything to them. But if any of they indeed had the class selected, then it will remove it from them. Okay. And then later on, we are just adding the selected class, but just to the selected item. So this now works pretty well. Let me refresh this. If I click man, first of all, it tried to remove the selected from both of them. None of them had them in the first place, so it didn't do anything. And then it added the selected to the clicked one. But if I click woman, you can see that now it's first removing the selected from both of them, meaning it did remove it from the first one, and then it added to the correct one, to the clicked one, which was the second one, this div called woman. So now I'm able to select either man or woman and give the user the right hint or the visual cue that we are indeed selecting the right div. Okay? Now let's
why each time is specified with a point at the start and selected isn't?
Yeah, because this is a selector, remember. So this is telling, look for something with the class item. And here, as we want to remove the class, but the method remove class is already using the dot at the beginning of the class name, so we don't need to specify it. If you look for the documents in jQuery and you look for the method remove class, you will see that it's just waiting for the class name, so you don't have to specify the point anymore. If you do something like this, then it will look for something with the class dot selected, okay? And we don't have that. We just have something with the class selected. So here, this method, you should only specify the name of the class. Here is different because we are looking for something on selected something. And remember, here we can either look for tag names or class names or even IDs. Okay, so here you do have to specify this, but inside here, it was item, right? Inside here, you just specify the class name.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is working, but what happens if the users try to click next without making any selection at all? In this case, we want to fire an error. And as you can see here, we have already a div with class error that it's being hidden by default when we open the page. If we remove this display none, we will actually see that div here. It's just an error message that says, please select an option. So the behavior of this interface should be, if I click the next button without selecting before a man or woman, then I should be presented with this error div. But if I indeed selected man or woman and then I click next, the behavior should be just move forward to the next slide. Let's do some before that. I don't want the user to be able to see the rest of the questions when he or she opens the web page for the first time. So what I want to do is, as you can see, we have many sections and all my pages are divided in sections. So what I want to do is hide these 3 sections and just show the first section at the beginning. And we can achieve that very easily if we change something inside our CSS. So what we want to do is, I will just do it at the bottom of the CSS. And this will hide all the sections but section 1. So it will just show all of them. One way of doing it is by telling it, you know what? Hide all the sections and then just show the one with the ID slide 1. So we can make use of the tag names to select all the sections to begin with, and then we can make use of the IDs just to show this one. So we will do something like this. First, look for the tag name section and change the display of all of them to none. That's the same as hiding them. And then look for a div with the ID slide 1, and then you will want to change its display to block. Okay, so if I execute this CSS, it will first hide all the sections, and then it will show just the first one. I will save this, click refresh, and as you can see, if I try to, it didn't work, I will just refresh my web page, yeah. As you can see, I'm trying to scroll down, but it doesn't have any more content because the rest of the sections are being hidden, okay? And this section was hidden for a fraction of time, and then it was shown by CSS, okay? So that is hiding the rest of the section for me, for the user, and he or she is not able to watch them. And that's okay, because I wanna watch them not before, or I wanna watch them or show them when the user clicks on the next item. But even if he or she clicks the next item, I should check if he or she indeed made a selection of man or woman before clicking this next item, okay? If she or she didn't, then I wanna show this error tag here, okay? So let's do all that. I will go back to my index. So this is working okay. We should also listen to the next click or to the clicks on this item, this div with class next, and move forward to the next slide just if the user did selected either man or woman. So this is the way to listen into some click to some element. We now want to hear or listen to the click to this div with class next. So what we can do is do something like this. Look for something with class next, and then when the user clicks on it, execute this function. Yes? Any question?
No.
Okay. So first, we could do something like this. Move to the next slide. So how could we emulate advancing to the next slide? Well, pretty easily. We would like to hide this slide 1 and show slide 2. We can do this with jQuery. Look for something with the ID slide 1 and hide it. We could write a rule display none, but jQuery already has a shortcut for this, and the shortcut for this is hide. So the hide function in jQuery changes the display of an element to none, okay? And then if we wanna change the display value of an element to block, we have also the function show. So we could do something like this, slide to show. This will hide slide 1 and show slide 2. So right now, if I save this and I refresh this and I click next, as you can see, section 1 is hidden now and section 2 is being shown. I can no longer see section 1 in my code only if I refresh the web page, okay? But we don't want to forward to the next slide if the user didn't make a selection first. So this should have some validation. Let's do that before, please. And moving forward, we want to save the selection the user did here in some variable. So at the end, we can use that information to calculate something. In our case, we are just going to move the background of this sprite according to the user selection, but we couldn't really do anything with it we want, okay? How do we do this? First, we are going to create some global variables to store users' responses in, okay? So we are going to create a variable named gender, and we will first start it with as an empty string, okay? Then we can already use this. When the user clicks on next, if the gender value is still an empty string, we will assume that the user didn't make a selection yet. Now, when the user does make a selection here, we should be updating the value of the variable gender with anything we want different than an empty string, okay? Let's do that first. So when the user clicks on the item, we wanna show that item as selected, that's okay, but we also wanna save the user's answer inside the gender variable, okay? So which value do we wanna save? Well, if the user click on this button, we wanna save the string man. And if the user click on this one, we wanna save the string woman. And we already have that string here, so we can just, if we click here, we can check what was this text inside this element. Remember, let me write it again. Remember we have the this keyword, and the this is getting all the div, right? So if I click on this div, the value of the keyword this has this value inside it. We can strip down this or try to get inside it and just watch for this text, this woman or man. We can do this very easily if we do something like this. Look for the element this, and from that element, just read its text. Let's put this inside a console. I hope this makes a little bit of sense in your heads. So what this does is that we are printing something on the console. And what we are printing is the div that was clicked, but not the whole div, just the text inside it. So this is a reference to the clicked element, which could be either this div or this div. But if we just get the text inside it, okay, then we are just going to get either this or this part of the div. Let's try that out. It should be printed on the console, okay? So I will refresh this, and now if I click man, I just get the text man. And if I click woman, I just get the text woman. That works because we wanna assign that, rather than printing it on the console, we wanna assign that value to the variable gender, okay? So instead of printing it to the console, we could very easily do gender equals to that thing. So now the variable gender, once the user clicks on either woman or man, the variable gender will change its value from an empty string to either man or woman. And we can try that out. If I refresh my web page, The console, we can also use it as a debugger for seeing the values of variables at any time. So right now, all this text has already been executed. So that means that the gender variable exists already, and I can check it here. If I just write gender, this is the default value of the variable. But once I click here on man, and then I want to print again the value of gender, now gender, the value is man. And if I click on woman, and I try to print again the value of gender, it will be woman, as you can see here, because we are changing that value when the user clicks on either woman or man. So gender now can have 3 values: an empty screen, man, or woman. Now when we click on our next, we can validate that and restrict the forwarding to the next slide to the gender value being different from an empty string. If we still have an empty string, that will mean that the user still haven't selected any of these items, okay? So how can we do this? With an if statement, it's very easy. We can use something like, if gender is equal to an empty string, and remember this double equal sign, it's different than the single equal sign. A single equal sign means that we are assigning a value. So here we are assigning the value of an empty string to the variable gender, but the double equal sign is a comparison. So we are comparing the value of gender with the value of an empty string. And if they are the same, then we are going to get in here. If they don't, we can also get inside the else statement. So I will cut this and put it inside here. Why here? Because this will mean that the gender value is different, it's not equal to the empty string. That way we will think that the user did select either man or woman, and we then will move forward to the slide. But if the user tries to move forward to the next slide without selecting either man or woman, then we have to fire an error, right? The user didn't select any value, okay? We already have that paragraph here that did with a class of error. It's been hidden by default in the CSS, as you can see, so we can just change its display to block or add it or show it with an animation. So that we could do something like look for something with the class error, and let me check if it's indeed a class name. Yeah, it's the class error here, okay? And what we will do is just, we could change its CSS, we could put a show, we can also make a fading effect, okay? I will save this, refresh my web page. So if the user clicks next without first selecting either man or woman, this error will pop up, okay? And it's saying, please select an option first. Now if I select either man or woman and then I click next, then it will move to the next slide. Okay, so we achieved the result we wanted. Does anybody have any questions up to now?
No.
Okay, let's move on. So we already have in gender the correct value, either man or woman, and now we are able to move to the next question. In the next question, we are just going to replicate the same thing we did, more or less, okay? Let's look at the text of the next question. We have a slide 2, and we have a Lee element with class animal. So we could now listen to the click on any element with class animal. In that case, we will be hearing either the click on this Lee or on this Lee, okay? Let's check for that. So look for something with class animal, and then if the user clicks on it, execute this function, okay? And this is more or less the same, right? We would like to have a global variable named animal. It will start again with an empty string, but when the user clicks on an animal, we will update variable animal, okay? So value animal will now be, remember this, the element that was clicked, and we want the text inside it, okay? We can either use text or HTML. The difference is that if we use some HTML text, so for example, if we write some heading, so if we wrap this dog li inside a heading, if we read the HTML of this li, we will be getting all these values. And if we get just the text value, then it will strip down all the HTML code and just return this value. Let's check that out, okay? So right now, when we are clicking on the animal div, we are saving or updating the animal variable, and we are assigning the HTML value. So let's look for it. I will refresh this, click man, next, and then I will click, well, this is the H1, so it moved a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. I will click here. So if I check the value of animal, as you can see, because I set it up to save the whole HTML, it's even saving the H1. If I change this to text, it will strip down all the HTML code and just save the text. I will refresh this web page, just click man, next. If I don't click anything yet, the value of animal is still an empty string, right? But if I click here, now the value of animal is just the text without the heading one, okay? So that's the difference between HTML and text. I will get rid of this H1 so it doesn't breaks my styles or my design. So right now, animal will be either cat or dog, depending on what I write. And then we just move to the next slide, doing something like this, right? In this case, we will hide the slide 2 and then show slide number 3. We are almost done. Right now, I'm able to select either man or woman, move to the next slide, and then here, I remove the next button, so both these buttons work both as a selection, as a next button, okay? The problem is that if I make the wrong choice here, I'm not able to rectify my choice. And if I do have a next button and I make the wrong choice here, it will be difficult to do it, but it could happen, yeah? And then I want to rectify, I can do it before moving forward to the next slide, okay? But right here, I already have a value on that and a value on that variable also. So I just need to listen to the next one, and it's more or less the same, but I make something different here. As you can see in the slide number 3, where we have the yellow and green, we no longer have any class or ID here. Of course, you could always add it, class, I don't know, maybe color or something like this, but if I tell you not to do it, and I forbid you to add any class or ID to these elements, then how could you still be able to listen the users click on either of those? Any ideas? No? No one? So one approach will be listen to the click on the li element. So you could do something like this. Look for something called li, and then detect the click on them. The problem with this is that this code will be fired when you click any li on the design. And as you can see, yeah, for sure we have those lis, but we have also these lis. How can we tell apart this li element from this one in order to just catch the click on these li elements?
Like we do in the CSS, like if in the section slide 3,
yeah,
found the li.
Exactly. We could restrict the selection to not every single li out there, just the lis that are, as you said, inside a div with ID slide 3. Because as we just have one div with this ID and this list inside it, then we will be restricting the access to this one. So that's the correct way of doing it. Instead of selecting all the lists, we can do here as we do with normal CSS, slide 3. And this way we are restricting the access to just the list, or restricting the event listener to just the lists that are inside the slide number 3. Super, that works. And the next thing is just more or less the same. So I will just copy this, paste it. We will have a new variable called color, if you want, because we are saving the color there, or a color. So here, when you click on this element, you will update color and then move to the last slide by hiding slide number 3 and showing slide number 4. And we are almost done with this, okay? So right now, if I update this, we are able to select either man or woman, move to the next one, select either dog or cat, and then move to the next one and select either yellow or green. We are in the last page, but the good thing is that we already have our variables with the right values. So if I inspect gender, we have woman, and if I inspect animal, we have cat, and if I inspect color, we have green. So depending on the selection of the user, we just want to change some sprite, some background position for this sprite that we have, okay? So let's try to do this. Where should we do this? In fact, or really before doing this, or really something like here, okay? Or before doing this, it doesn't really matter, but it has to be before I present the user with the final slide, okay? Because when I present the user with the final slide, I already would like to have made the changes to the background position or display a text here or something, okay? So let's try to do this. And there are many ways I can do this. Let's try the normal one. This will update the sprite background position according to the user selections or answers. How many different combinations of values can we have from this small test? So we have one question with 2 values, another question with 2 values, and one last question with 2 values. So 3 questions, each one with 2 values. How many different combinations do we have?
8.
8. That comes 2 to the power of 3, okay? 3 questions, each one with 2 values. So if you go 2 times 2, it will be 4, and this times 2, it will be 8. So we have 8 different combinations, right? One would be something like man, dog, yellow. The other could be man, dog, green. The other one could be woman, dog, yellow, and you get the idea. So we could catch all of them. There are too many to keep track of all of them, but I will give you an example of how could you do this. So you could add an if statement and maybe do something like, if gender is male, you have to be careful with the closed caption here because male is not the same that male with lowercase, okay? And remember these logical symbols from programming fundamentals. This is an and, this is an or, double pipeline in JavaScript. And the and means that all the comparisons inside this must be true in order to return a true here, okay? So if gender was male and the animal was dog and the color was green, I don't know, do something here. For example, change the position of this sprite. And I want to show the tiger, so I don't have to do anything at all with this. Maybe I will just have one variable called res. It will be an empty string, but if I do this, then res will be tiger, okay? And I will here move the background position, but as it's already showing the tiger, then I don't have to move it here. But what if I have a different selection? So I will just put another if. If the gender was a woman, and it wasn't man, it was man, right? If the gender was woman and the animal was also dog and the color was also green, then I will just, it doesn't make any sense at all, but I will just display a text that says female tiger, and I will update the background position accordingly. So I want to move this background. This is 90, the size is, the height is 192, so each box here should be 192 divided by 2, 96 pixels wide. So I want to move these background positions 96 pixels to the left, okay? So I could do that, and as you can see, we have that sprite here. Yes, so this class avatar is the div that holds the sprite as the image as a background image. You can look for it here. So the div avatar has a fixed width and height, and it's showing this image as a background. So at the beginning, we are just seeing the tiger, and I want to move it to display the second one. I can do that here, for example, here, update sprite background position. And I could do this very easily with jQuery, telling it, look for something with the class avatar, and then I can change the CSS here. And the property I want to change is the background position, right? And the values I want to change is minus 96 pixels and 0 in the y-axis. So this will update that thing when I select woman and dog and green. Let's look for it to see if it's really working. I will save this, refresh this, and I will select woman, dog, green, and as you can see, we are seeing this image, okay? I'm just going to make it with once more so you get the idea. What if it's a man and the color is yellow and the animal is cat, for example? So in that case, suppose I want to show this raven here. It's like a raven, right? Or something like that. So I have to move my background position 96 pixels to the left and 96 pixels to the top, okay? So I could copy 96 pixels to the left and 96 pixels to the top. And the rest will be raven, for example, okay? So that's with the selection man, cat, and yellow. Let's try that out. I refresh this, man, cat, and yellow, and I do get the raven here. And if I want to display the text, you are a raven, for example, then display the animal text, or the, it's not the animal, it's the rest text inside the, I already have a paragraph for that. I have a paragraph with class result. Let's put it result, okay? And I want to write something inside this paragraph. And I can do that quite easily if I just do something like, look for something with the class result. Remember, we have this method in jQuery, HTML and text, and they can work in both directions. If I just write text open and closing parentheses, what I will be is retrieving the text inside this div. But if I write something here, I will be replacing the content of that div with anything I write here. And what I want to do is, I don't want to write something statical. I just want to pass this value, this res, that can be either tiger or female tiger or raven or anything you want. So I want to display that inside the result paragraph. I just put here res, which is that global variable I have here, or that local variable for this function, and then it should work. So if I select, I forgot the options, I think it was man and cat and yellow. So I go with cat and yellow, and as you can see, I see that I'm a raven and I see my avatar. If I go with the other option, for example, man, let's go with this one, woman, dog, and green. So woman, dog, and green. Then I got this, and I display this text. So my design, my page is coming to life. I am able to respond to the user clicks and save some values and update some content accordingly, okay? Your homework has to do with something like this, but well, you will still have to change some sprite background position, but instead of seeing this in the homework, you will check some numbers, some number values. I will explain this in a minute because I don't want to make this video more long than necessary. So please tell me if you have any questions about this. If you don't, then I will just show you how this looks like in my actual cell phone. So let me try to, oh no, because I'm not in this network right now, so I won't do this right now. But does anybody have any questions about this? No? Then I will just pause the video, the recording here.